there is major concern that Tennessee's 7th-ranked 247 sports composite class could take a gigantic hit later this week or next week. For those who don't know, 5-star offensive lineman out of North Carolina, Providence Day High School in Charlotte, David Sanders Jr., has been committed to the Vols since the middle of August. He visited Ohio State this past weekend, though, when they hosted Indiana. And Ohio State has been working hard to flip him. Hard. According to reports, most of them, the Buckeyes are a legitimate threat to flip Sanders from Tennessee. I'm going to tell you guys this up front. This is a worry. This is a fear. And I'm honest with you when it's not a fear, and I'm honest with you when it is a fear. For instance, I told you guys last year, or I guess this would be, was it last year or was it in 2022? No, it was last year. I told you guys down the stretch of last year, don't worry about Boo Carter. Boo Carter is not flipping to Colorado. That is all smoke and mirrors. Boo Carter is staying committed to Tennessee. He's not going anywhere. I was right about that. We had inside reporting. I can't say the same thing confidently for David Sanders Jr. Ohio State is making a strong play for him, and there could be some reasons for why Ohio State. Remember, guys, Tennessee beat out Ohio State for David Sanders Jr. And David Sanders Jr. is the Vols' biggest commit. I would believe, since Eric Berry, but he may be higher than Eric Berry. So we're talking about one of the biggest commits in Tennessee football history. I mean, huge. Number 3 ranked offensive tackle, 5-star across the board, just unanimously elite player. So David Sanders going to Ohio State or visiting Ohio State is absolutely a fear, guys. So what could be driving this? Well, there's a few things. One, look, the visit was a huge success for him. According to reports, he had a lot of excitement. This was his only visit since committing to Tennessee in the summer. So he's obviously very interested. And it was a surprise visit at the same time. Spent time with a lot of other Ohio State commits, including Tavian St. Clair, their quarterback. Ryan Day and Justin Fry made sure that he was a priority on this visit. So there is a lot that is going to make Tennessee fans nervous. If David Sanders slips to Ohio State, they get the number 1 recruiting class, and honestly, the Vols probably fall out of the top 10. Now, it's not a confirmation yet. But the question is, what could be causing this? Well, I think the struggles in the passing game are part of it. I think the struggles at left tackle this year are part of it. I think David Sanders is doing this. It could be based on money, but Tennessee can afford to pay him. It also could be based on development and coaching, guys. And we're going to have to go here. There have been some questions about Glenn Ellerby's development of players. He did turn Darnell Wright into a top 10 pick once he flipped Darnell Wright to right tackle. No other tackles, though, have really been standout amazing since he has been at Tennessee. David Sanders, if you're him, you can't ignore what you saw from Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr. this year. Lance Hurd was a 5-star. Yes, he didn't win a starting job at LSU, but that's because it was a reportedly generational talent there. So David Sanders just had to go somewhere else, which he did. But that's not what's happening here. With David Sanders, you would think David Sanders is good enough to win the job immediately. But what's happening with Lance Hurd at Tennessee is he's struggling again this year. And there seem to be some questions about how Glenn Ellerby develops offensive linemen. And I got to point this out. And I've said this for a long time now, and I need somebody to try to correct me on it. Name an offensive lineman under Josh Heupel who was recruited by Josh Heupel and signed by Josh Heupel out of high school who has started for Tennessee football on a consistent basis. You guys go ahead. Name it. I'll wait. All of y'all can try to make a case, but even the players who signed with Tennessee out of high school who have been starting, they committed to Jeremy Pruitt, the Cooper Mazes of the world, Javonte Spraggins of the world. Jackson Lampley actually got a start on Saturday at guard. They were either those or they were transfers, like John Campbell, like Lance Hurd, like Andre Carrick, That's been the way that this offensive line has been built, and Gerald Mincey before he went to Kentucky. Guys, before y'all sit there and say David Sanders seems like a bit of a diva, Steve-O, I get what you're saying, and I know a lot of other people are questioning the NIL and things like that. I think we got to hold off. We got to be careful with kids in their future. We don't know everything going into it. It could be possible he wants more NIL money, but I don't think Tennessee can complain about that. Tennessee's been the one to open the checkbook for a lot of people for NIL money. So I don't think Tennessee can really be the one to say, well, I don't want a kid who goes for NIL money. Well, a lot of kids went to Tennessee for NIL money. So, take that with a grain of salt, guys. We got to be honest. Tennessee also, their offense not doing what it's been doing, their pass offense not being what it was, is going to hurt it with recruiting tackles too. Because it goes back to my previous talking point over Tennessee flipping a USC running back. They're going to run the ball a lot more. That's not going to favor the tackles. That's going to favor the interior linemen. And because of that, Tennessee could truly be in danger of losing Andre Carrick. Now, maybe a lot of this depends on how the college football playoff goes and things like that. But look, we don't know how this all is going to end up. But the truth of the matter is Tennessee is in serious danger of losing David Sanders Jr. And they gotta figure something out. They gotta work to keep him. Here's the problem: David Sanders is not the only elite commitment in Tennessee's recruiting class for 2025 that they have to worry about. There's another player who is now potentially looking somewhere else too. We're going to get to him in a minute. First, the show brought to you by Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
All right, everybody. Another scary commitment for another scary potential flip for Tennessee is Onis Konanbanny, who has been committed to the Vols. He's in the 2025 class, committed out of South Carolina, out of Heathwood Hall Episcopal School. And he has been committed to the Vols for quite some time now, honestly. And he committed back in August, but less than a week after David Sanders Jr. Well, he visited Florida over the weekend. And that official visit apparently seems to have gone well. Florida beating Ole Miss definitely helped. The fans were raucous there. I said that Florida would lose that game by more than 10 because I didn't think Florida fans could actually show up and be raucous at noon. My experience with Florida fans is they're like LSU fans. They're only raucous, and there's only a home field advantage if you go play them at night. That wasn't the case last week. Onis Konanbanny showed up. Florida showed up against Ole Miss. Onis Konanbanny was there to see those fans on hand, and they did their part to help him show some interest. Now, there's just the regular exterior factors would lead me to believe Konanbanny is going to stay at Tennessee more than Sanders, and here's why. A few things. One, even with that win on Saturday, there's still so many questions about Billy Napier and the future of Florida. You can't say that one win over Ole Miss is going to change anything. Nobody knows how that's going to work out long term. I still don't know if Florida is in the best shape long term because of that. Two, Tennessee this year with Tim Banks has totally rewritten the script over cornerbacks and defensive backs. They showed they can turn defensive backs into elite players if those players are good enough. Okay, Jamon McCoy is a generational talent at cornerback. Ricky Gibson is one of the best number 2 cornerbacks, maybe the best number 2 cornerback in college football. That could be the best cornerback tandem in college football this year. So in college football right now. So, which we are going to talk about in a little while because there is just a lot to love with those two. On top of that, look, you have to wonder about Florida's NIL. If you think this is about NIL, Florida doesn't have a great NIL collective. It is on a house of cards. So it's not like Florida could offer him money that they can't promise or that they can promise. They already had to back off a promise to Jaden Rashada. So with that in mind, again, I'm not so sure that Konanbanny would flip the fundamentals of that commitment suggests that he wouldn't flip to Florida. So I wouldn't worry about him as much. Worry much more about David Sanders Jr. I think Onis is probably going to stay committed to Tennessee for the time being. Portions of the program. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and go here. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Bank on it. Bank on it. Onis Konanbanny is not flipping.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Yes, Onis Konanbanny's not going to flip. Bank on it. There are too many factors in play that favor Tennessee. On the other hand, you should be worried about David Sanders Jr. We don't know what's going to happen, but this is not a good situation for Tennessee. So, of those two teams, bank on it. Konanbanny stays. David Sanders Jr. is up in the air. Gun to my head, I would think David Sanders Jr. may flip to Ohio State. But we'll see how that goes.